Welcome to the Gatton College of Business and Economics. We're delighted to host this event, the first in what we hope to be many of these. So my name is Simon Sheeder. I'm the 8th Dean in the 1990 history of the school, and I just started my second 6-year term. I'm very proud of that. One of the donors said to me, "Dean, you're not going to do another 6 years, are you? We're going to 2 would be better." I should have said to him, "No, mate, I haven't done 12 more years." Let's see. If we look at our mission statement, I'm very proud of the fact that it's said for a long time, we prepare principal leaders for the global economy, produce impactful research, and elevate economic growth in Kentucky and beyond. This mission is the foundation of everything we do. I was flying recently from Atlanta to Lexington, and I was wearing my UK cap, and I sat down. The fellow sitting next to me said, "Oh, UK. I went to a business school at another unnamed SEC school from outside Kentucky." And he said his school was much better than ours. And I said, "Really, though? How do you judge that?" And he said, "Well, we have a lot of students. They have more students than us." And I said, "I'm very proud of the fact that UK, that we have a very strong research record." And the fellow said to me, "How does that matter?" And I said, "Well, have you heard of this thing called artificial intelligence or Bitcoin?" So I think it's important for business schools to really push the envelope and be involved in what's going to be hot in the next few years. Anyway, the fellow's joined me on LinkedIn and he likes my little Simon Says videos, so we're all good. So this is our first ever Gatton Global Week. Let's all congratulations to Associate Dean John Palazzo. So last year, our college saw an 11% increase in the number of its students studying abroad. So we have programs all over Europe. We've sent students to Kenya. We've sent them to Australia. 269 students studied abroad, 234 undergraduate, 35 graduate. Italy, France, the UK, Austria, Belgium, Spain, Denmark, Kenya, and South Korea. 19% of these students were first-generation students. The university has a program where it sends 4 cohorts of first-generation students overseas. It's done for 2 years. We've sent 2 cohorts to London, 2 cohorts to Ireland. We have 67 students participating in our Gatton Literates program, which helps us enhance our relationships with South America. If you do a degree in South America, it takes 4 years. If you do save all the electives to the 5th year, you come here after your 4th year and do a master's degree, you can get both degrees. And if the master's degree is a STEM degree, you can do work under OPT for 3 years in the US. So we have our very first student doing that program. We hope to grow that program. If you talk to employers, they say they like to see students that have done some internships, are members of clubs, and have had some international experience. So that's something that we intend to do even more of. Now, I was very heartened here, Serenity Riders here to host tonight. I still cry when I think about that Serenity used to work at the Gatton College. She's on to bigger and better things, but it's nice to have you back, even if only for a short while. And then it's my job to turn the program over to Omar. Sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Dean, for the welcoming remarks. It's always a pleasure to be here. Before I look out this window, I reminisce on my younger years. I was a student here. 1990 to 94. I can do the numbers on how old I am. And I never thought that one day I would actually be a leader in this community or even graduate. But it was an excellent, excellent education that set me in the right stage. So thank you, to the Gatton College of Business for giving me that opportunity. John, thank you for the partnership. It's really great. This is the second time that we host a global executive forum right here. Wally and I partnered up on one in 2022, and now we've partnered up as part of the Gatton Global Week to be involved. Please come in. Please come in and have a seat. So to start out with, I'm not going to take too much of your time here. I would like to recognize a few entities, of course, the Gatton College of Business and the partnership with the dean here, the University of Louisville College of Business. Thank you, Vernon and team, for being a partner in this and supporting the Global Executive Forum over the years. The board members of the Kentucky World Trade Center, please stand up. I'd like to be recognized. We really appreciate your leadership in helping us move forward. Anyhow, this is a great venue. We're excited about this. We've got a great panel. We'll be in here for about another, 50 minutes into an hour, and then we'll be next door for the hors d'oeuvres and the libations and what have you. So I really appreciate all the work that has gone on in putting on this panel. We're excited about it. I'll be remiss if I don't share with you also a little bit of history as it relates to the World Trade Center. There was a governor in Kentucky that was a true leader in many ways. And this governor, her name was Governor Collins. And the story goes is that Governor Collins was flying back from Japan when they just signed Toyota to move here. And Toyota factory just up the road from here is the largest Toyota factory in the world. And at that time, Larry Hayes and a few other people that were part of Scotty Basler, the mayor of Lexington, were with her on the plane. And she looked at them and she's like, we've brought the Japanese here. So now we have to figure out a way to become gold. And that's literally when they went and brought in the Japan American Society of Kentucky, and they went to New York and brought in the World Trade Center. So it took the leadership of a woman to transform the state in so many ways. And the World Trade Center wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Governor Collins. So this panel highlights so many activities as it relates to that. Women in international trade is very much part of the process. We're excited about that. And without further ado, over to you, Serenity.
Thank you, Omar. At this point, I would like to invite my esteemed panel to come down here and join me. Would you want to send? Nope. That was a question. Like,
There we go.
good.
All right.
It is on. They are on. As Omar said, tonight is about women in international trade. And as an international woman, I am very honored to be here with these women tonight. I was raised in Indonesia. I grew up learning English as a second language. And as someone who has spent a significant amount of my professional life working abroad and growing abroad, I'm very excited for what we have coming tonight. So, before we get started on the professional perspective, Mona, I'll start with you. If you will just take a minute and introduce us to who you are as a person outside of your professional life.
All right. Thanks, Serenity, and thank you all for being here. As a person, I identify as Arab American. I immigrated to the United States about 25 years ago. I'm of Palestinian descent. I was born in Kuwait, and my family moved to Amman, Jordan, during the first Gulf War, where I lived and finished college. I came to Louisville, Kentucky, to pursue my higher education because my dad was a college professor and he got a job at U of L. So with that being said, during my senior year, I went in studying computer information systems because my dad was very adamant about technical degree. He was a computer science professor, and all my brothers were engineers. So I decided to be the black sheep and switch majors 2 years into college from computer programming to international marketing and business. And my senior year, I went to meet my college advisor and I said, okay, I have this degree. I'm in Louisville. I'm interested in international business. What do I do? And I remember him pulling a fax. This is how old I am. Fax off of his fax machine and saying, you know what? This came in today. There's an internship with the International Trade Administration. I'm like, what's that? And he said, they help companies export. I'm like, sure, whatever. Is it paid? That's my first concern. And how many hours? And he said, yes, it's paid. And I had to complete the internship hours while I was still pursuing a degree. And here I am, 22 years later, with the same organization with the federal government. I'm a director of the U.S. Commercial Service for the state of Kentucky. And this is, if anything, the best immigrant success story that I can share today. And during my career, I've had the opportunity to serve overseas at embassies and consulates, take delegations of U.S. businesses to Latin America. I've been to Egypt. I've been to Brazil, Uruguay, and also had the opportunity to meet all the wonderful manufacturing companies and service providers within our state of Kentucky and learn what it takes to take a company from its nascent stages to becoming a large international corporation. So that's who I am.
So good evening, everyone. My name is Amelia Pope. I am the Vice President of International Business and New Construction for Big Ass Fans here in Lexington. So I am a Kentucky girl, born and bred. That was not the intent to still be in Kentucky, not going to lie. But I have been in international business pretty much my whole career. Once again, that was also not the plan. Pharmaceutical sales was the plan. So I got the good opportunity where a business owner saw potential in me and gave me a chance to go after some international markets. And sort of that's where I found my true passion and love for being able to grow business on the global scale. And so through a number of different commercial opportunities with that company, I moved into chemicals. Once again, also not a field that I ever anticipated being in, but quickly learned the challenges associated with global supply chain. And then that quickly led me to leading the international business at Big Ass Fans and taking on new construction. So I'm so excited to be here with you guys today and share a little bit about what we've learned, what the obstacles we've faced, and all the amazing opportunities associated with global business.
Okay. So I am Elaine Gravatt. I am also a Kentucky girl and a UK grad. I actually graduated with a degree in psychology and communications. So business was not my goal either, but I did an internship. Internships are valuable for figuring out what you don't want to do. I did an internship at Eastern State Hospital and said, I got to change my mind. And so I ended up at, I actually ended up with an MBA with a focus in organizational development and human resource development. So I came up through the people side. The psychology came in handy, and ended up with a company here in town or in Louisville called D.D. Williamson. We've since been purchased. It was almost 160 years old, sort of below the radar screen, but we're a global supplier to little companies like Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola and Nestle and Kraft and some of those guys. So we're a B2B group. We were bought 3 years ago. When I left, I was the CEO of the company. I am just transitioning. I'm still finishing an advising contract, but I was there for 25 years. And so I had an opportunity. We had 11 locations around the world on 5 continents, a supply chain that was even bigger than that, and just an unbelievable experience. Now, I will tell you, when I went to work for the company 25 years ago, I didn't know how to make an international phone call and I didn't have a passport. And at that point, you actually had to know how to dial the numbers to make an international phone call because that was a long time ago. And so I had to do a lot of sort of learning and growing along the way, and I made a few mistakes, but I also managed to grow and develop within the company, got lots of opportunities to develop and be coached, and I did manage to have a family, and I actually have a daughter who's graduated from South Carolina, but I have a daughter who is a junior at UK. So it comes back around, and that's me.
Go Cats. So my name is Blanca Ramirez. I'm originally from Guadalajara in Mexico, and my connection with Kentucky, actually been working for Kentucky since before I graduated college. My connection started with the Cabinet of Economic Development. Back then, they had a Kentucky trade office in Mexico. So, the dean of my university in Guadalajara and the president of the American Chamber of Commerce in Mexico were looking for a person, and my name came up, and well, I started as a trade specialist for the Kentucky Trade Office in Mexico. Eventually, met several companies, and one of them told me, well, why don't you come and develop our international activity here? Well, it was going to be remote, actually, and that was sometime before COVID, right? And then they're like, no, we really need you here, right? So I joined Leg to Dryer in 2004. But Serenity, you really asked us a little bit more about ourselves. And I got to tell you, some of the things that define me outside work are I like to be an activist. One of the things that I like to do, most recently, I've been very active on digital literacy, trying to help others it's a big problem in our world, a big problem. And it's creating a stratification of society everywhere in every single country. So I've been very active on that. I took a sabbatical. I'm very blessed that I was able to do that and return to the company I was working for. And during that sabbatical, I was able to become the interim director of the Laboratory of Entrepreneurship and Social Developments at the university I studied in Mexico. They allowed me to do that. And then after I finished that project, I went to the IMF to finish certification on public policy. And because I was very interested, but that's where I saw the digital literacy problem, not only in Mexico, here in the U.S. So that's one of the things that I do. And I know that this great panel has a lot to share on international trade, and I'm eager to hear the questions that you have for us.
Yeah. Blanca, I think that's a great transition actually into my next question. Because who I am as a person, right? There's no magic portal when we enter the door, right? When we come to work. So who I am as a person is deeply impacted by what I get to do as a professional, right? And vice versa. The work that I do impacts how I go home to my family and how I exist in my community. So I think this duality that is really a unity of who we are as individuals, who we are as women in our companies, really matters for the work that we do, right? So Blanca, since you're already leading us down this path, I'll start with you. Let's tease this out a little bit more. Tell me more specifically about the global work your company does that you're engaged in. And also, how does that help you continue to meet your passions, your interests, the pieces of who you are? How does that come together for you every day?
Absolutely. So, Leg to Dryer, who I have worked since 2004, manufactures equipment. And when hear me out. So the two owners tell me while I was working at the Kentucky Trade Office in Mexico, why don't you come and check out the company? We have a trade show in Las Vegas. I know it sounds kind of iffy, to Vegas, and so I was like, but I had been going to Comdex to Vegas with my dad because my mom could not travel for health reasons. So I had been going. So, okay, I'm good. Still, I took my boyfriend with me just in case. And so I always was interested in energy or food. I was like, I want something that's basic that we can help, and that's massive, right? So when I went to Leg to Dryer, they were doing auxiliaries for the power generation market, right? And they were marketing as the best, and then the technology was the best. And what they were doing is recirculating hydrogen. It's a very technical thing, and I'm not going to bore you with all that. But I'm like, okay, the best. They're doing something great for efficiency. This is very cool. So I loved it, and decided to jump into it. Fast forward 20 years later, after being a chief marketing officer, this is a very small company in Richmond, Kentucky. Okay, it's not a large corporate, and being a small company has a lot of challenges. I realized that the energy transition had a lot of opportunities for the company, right? And I decided to present this to the owners. I'm like, the energy transition has opportunities for this company. We have to develop new products, adapt our technology to this new, and now to these new mega trends, right? So hydrogen is a big deal. Who knows here that Kentucky belongs to a hydrogen hub? There you go. 1, 2. Okay. We belong to a hydrogen hub. What does that mean? That means that there's billions of dollars being funneled, not only to Kentucky, but we belong to our hub. And part of that is developing that cluster of hydrogen here in the East, right? But it's kind of central, but East. So Lake to Dryer is hopping on the hydrogen purification. So that is part of what, oh my God, my contribution to the energy transition, which I absolutely believe in. Now, don't get me wrong. I believe in coal. I believe in nuclear. I believe in natural gas. I believe that energy should be a balanced basket of solutions for everybody all over the world, but it needs to be done responsibly and cleanly. So I'm a big activist for that. And so that part of the activism, even though it's not digital literacy, helps me, but it's just that part of contributing that fulfills that part of, okay, what are you doing for the world, right? So I am helping develop these products that will enhance the hydrogen economy for the coming years. So that's how that fulfills that and makes me very proud of what I'm doing.
Mine's in a completely different direction. Nothing nearly that technical. No, it's not a competition. That's right. So my passion, what brings me joy is helping people to grow, developing leaders. And the company that I've had the good fortune to work for over the 25 years, our purpose statement or stated purpose is working together to serve customers while building community. And so I've had an opportunity over the 25 years that I've worked there, and even the business that I'm launching now, to really mentor and coach and work with our leaders all over the world and help them to develop their leadership. Because when you have 11, 12, 14 sites all over the world, you can't oversee that. You have to have people who understand and are grounded not only in their local culture, but in your business culture, in your values, in the things that you represent. And so my job was to make sure that we had the right people, that they had the right skill sets, and that they attributed the right values so that they could run it 12 hours away in China speaking a different language, because I have no prayer of overseeing that. And we were very, very successful at it. And that absolutely feeds me, continues to feed me to this day. My next business is going to specialize probably in mostly in females, but it's male, female, young, old, and it's been great fun. And we had a chance to do some philanthropic things at the same time with, AIDS orphans in Swazi and with immigrant kindergartens in China. So I've just had the most fantastic experience all around building and developing leaders within this company and in their local culture. So that feeds me all day long.
Love that.
Oh, wait, you've got
So this is such a loaded question, and I could go so many different ways, but where I'm going to start is, number one, I started my career saying I was always going to only be with the best. I didn't want to sacrifice quality, performance. It had to be a product and a service I believed in. And I've held true to that. And Big Ass Fans follows that from top to bottom. So when they called the recruiter of their parent company, Madison Industries, I didn't return the call the first time. Maybe the second time I did. And once I heard their vision of what they stood for, and then coupled with what BAF stood for, I knew it was something that I needed to see through. I called my husband and I said, "You're going to think this is insane. I really wasn't planning on taking the call, but after I've heard part of this, if even half of what they talk about they stand for, I've got to go for it. And here's why. Madison firmly believes in building an organization that is based in making the world healthier, safer, and more productive. So their product complement, their company complement, and every single initiative that they initiate, it is all founded and rooted in that. Coupled with that, Big Ass Fans, air movement. Our whole job is to provide solutions for complex environments. So any type of comfort solutions that you can imagine, that's the area that we're going to play in. And we're not going to sacrifice performance. We're not going to sacrifice quality. And we're sure as heck not going to sacrifice safety. And so that's the way that I build my organization around that, is people that I truly trust, execute on the culture and the goals at hand, and that you can trust around the globe to really deliver on those missions and visions that we've created.
All really wonderful examples from the private sector, and maybe I can share my perspective working with the government. So what fuels me is the fact that I am a civil servant. I am paid for by your taxes. Thank you very much. And I'm here to serve. I use the line at trade shows, I'm with the government and I'm here to help, because I think it's pretty funny. And a lot of companies are afraid of me when they see my title. They say, oh my gosh, she's with the government, Department of Commerce. Is she looking into my taxes? Is she going to report me? I'm like, no. I don't enforce the rules, okay? I just help you execute the rules. And we help companies stay out of trouble. We help companies maintain their business, grow their business, and create jobs. And that is what feeds me and fuels me, knowing that the service that I provide in conjunction with my colleagues, domestically, locally here in Kentucky, and domestically and throughout the world. Every embassy and consulate has a commercial section. If you are traveling to Italy, or if you're going to be doing business in Australia, or you have customers in Singapore, the U.S. Embassy has a commercial section, and their job is to look out for the interest of U.S. businesses. Even if you don't manufacture your product, if you're an American business with intellectual property and you want to protect it, we are there to help. And this is a genuine service that we provide. This is my job. I don't get commission. I don't get bonus. I don't get any of that fun stuff. However, I get platitudes from my clients, and then we also get success stories. And that's basically our bean in the jar. When we can show that we have helped XYZ company overcome a specific trade barrier or find a new distributor, small rural company in Kentucky that, wants to expand their sales in Latin America, and we're there to help them, that translates into jobs and earned income for the county and for the people in the area. And these are good paying jobs. And they help companies weather the changes in the economy. The U.S. dollar may not always be strong, and the international customers or domestic market may not always be thriving. So it gives a company an alternative. So that kind of basically is what kept me in the government for so long. Otherwise, I'm unhireable in the private sector. After about 4 years of working with commerce, I decided I had an opportunity. You mentioned pharma. A lot of my husband's in the pharma industry, and I have several family members in the industry as well. They're like, oh, you should come to the dark side in pharmaceuticals. I think I am in the dark side. I am already in the government. I am so engrossed in everything commerce and government related. And before you know it, here I am so many years later. And every day, another great thing about this job is I can get really geeked out about certain things. I mean, I learned so much talking to companies such as yours. When I heard of Big Ass Fans, I was just telling her, I was like, wow, this is a cool company. I love their marketing, because I had a marketing degree. And then when I found out your caramel coloring goes into all the sodas, and I heard about Electrodryer and all the applications they have for their company, it's like, there's so much out there to learn. And I keep learning every day. Every day I meet a new company and I learn about their technology and what they do. And I find that extremely remarkable.
So, Elena, I want to come to you for this, because the theme that I hear across all of your all's answers is grounded in people and communities, right? And that's where I feel my passion for work, right? I often get asked, what's the next step for you? Like, impact, whatever it is, it will be more impact, right? That's what I want to do. Care less what direction that is in. Spin me off and off I'll go, right? But it's grounded in people and communities, and global business, international trade really is about how we work with people, right? And work across cultures and within cultures, right? So I want to talk about challenges and opportunities in doing that. This is different than success and failures, right? You talk about having a dial and the number. Like, I can remember having my grandmother write to us a letter. She had to plan 14 days in advance, and then we get the letter, and it's like 3 days out, we need to sit by the phone because then she was going to call, right? That's a challenge in global business at the time, right? So I want us to focus on challenges and opportunities. But Elaine, I'm gonna start with you. What have you seen? What is your experience in working internationally, specifically in trade or global business, around challenges and opportunities?
So I think I'll start on the opportunity side. We are a core supplier for Coca-Cola, and that is really the foundation that our whole company was built on. Well, I actually started with Pepsi, and if anybody works for either one of those in the room, I'll apologize for that right now. But because we do serve both. So, we were able to go into companies where Coke had established as they grew their global business, and they were putting locations in places, and it was all about tax. Where's the best tax relieved area in Europe? Where's the best tax relieved area in Africa? And so we are in strange places like Eswatini, Africa, and Manaus, Brazil, in the middle of the Amazon. And Matt here has helped me try to bring immigration in from Eswatini. It's very interesting stuff. That's one of the challenges, is it not? Trying to get talented people into the business. But I think the opportunities to these large companies, as they go out and they fill out their global business, they can also fill out their whole supply chain and their whole supply base, and it goes backwards and it goes forward, and the whole ecosystem really follows them. And so you wouldn't think that a privately held company from Louisville, Kentucky would have 14 locations all over the world, but we did, because we were attached to and an important supplier to this larger company. And then my head of supply chain is sitting up there. And so all of that, we buy materials from probably 30, 35 countries at least at this point. So those opportunities are really there. And it's a mistake to think that you have to be large and at scale. There are just little niches that you can really find, and you can be, you can produce locally, you can import. There are lots of different ways to do it. But for me, those opportunities are still there. The challenges, probably more recently with COVID, and with some of the sort of nationalism and some of the sort of retraction from some of the global economy, it's gotten harder in the last 5 years, 4 years, 5 years, for sure. Again, everything from supply chain challenges to just plain old travel, being able to get in and out of countries, is just all a bit harder than it used to be. I'm hoping that we continue to look at things like immigration policy, and we continue to try to develop these things to facilitate the global economy, because I don't care what you tell me, the global economy is here to stay. And the companies who are really going to accelerate are the ones who can really leverage that and build on it from wherever they are.
Thank you. Okay. I'm going to amend my questions a little bit. I told them I had a reserved right to change questions on the fly. Here we are. So, Mana, I want to come to you, given what Elaine just said, and talk about policy and process and working with governments, working internationally. Challenges are abundant. But so maybe more from the positive lens, right? What are the opportunities? Why should companies, especially smaller companies, not give up in this space, not get frustrated? What are the resources available to them? How do we expand access to the opportunities to enhance global trade?
Certainly. With great risk comes great reward, right? So our job is to help companies mitigate that risk, whether it be guiding them through insurance policies to make sure that they get paid by their international customer, making sure that they're not doing business with a shady individual running their business from a basement or kicking tires somewhere, which are also protecting them when they're traveling overseas, informing them of what they need to do in order to register with the State Department, or in case there's some kind of political upheaval. So definitely there are a whole slew of risks that comes with international business. However, there are abundant opportunities. And I touched on this earlier, talking about diversifying your portfolio, right? If you have one buyer in Canada and that's who you sell to all the time, well, there's a chance that buyer will go, something might happen to them, some financial issue, somebody might retire, they might change their source. So you need to have multiple customers domestically and internationally. Our job is to tell you when you're ready for exporting. A lot of companies will come to me and say, I have this niche product and I want to sell it in Costa Rica. And I'll say, why? It's like, because my cousin lives in Costa Rica. That's not the right answer. Okay. Or they'll come to me and they said, the world is my oyster. I want to sell this product everywhere. Everybody, if you have a mouth, you can buy this product. You're going to want it. It's a consumer product. It's a agricultural good. If you eat, we'll sell it to you. I'm like, well, that's not how it works. So we coach them. We tell them where they need to look. Probably look into free trade agreement countries that have lower barriers to entry, countries that have regulations that allow you that meet the U.S. standards. There's a lot of food ingredients and additives. We'll talk about the food here that are allowed in the United States that are prohibited overseas. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of also something as simple as switching over from imperial to metric system. The entire world uses the metric system. And then here comes a company with yards and inches and whatnot. And I'm like, well, this is not going to work. Okay. So these are the types of things that companies are not aware of, and we coach them through the process. Think of us as, and we're not necessarily one-stop shop. We work very closely with the Small Business Development Center, the World Trade Center. We work with colleges and universities. We work very closely with the Kentucky Cabinet for Economic Development and chambers of commerce throughout the state. So the most important thing is working collaboratively with all the resources that you have available to you. Even if you don't know who they are, there's several people in this room that you can reach out to that can provide, or point you in the right direction. But I guess going back to your original question is the opportunities. It's international business is not for the faint of heart. Let's just put it out there. You definitely are going to have many challenges, a lot of interruptions, concerns, stuck in airports or shipments stuck in customs, or, there's a ban on specific product or you didn't put the right document in your shipment. But the opportunities are tenfold once you figure out the risks that come with it.
Thank you. Amelia, so I want to build on what these two ladies have said, but I'm coming back to something very specific that you said in an earlier answer, because you specifically called out, I need to be able to trust the people in these different sites to do their jobs, right? So as we think about challenges, as you think about challenges and opportunities in global trade, right? What is the value or purpose or intentionality? What are the operational things that have to happen for internal communications to make sure all those things are working to enhance those external partnerships?
So if you're going to enter any global market, you have to be intentional about it. Intentional just like you would be here in the US, or if you were picking a different state or a different vertical to go into. So when you go into any new market or even existing market that you're kind of dabbling in, you got to go full bore from the standpoint of thinking through all the risk, thinking through all the challenges, putting in the right processes in place, and identifying those key members of your team that can really help you drive it across the line. Coming back to your point of trust is absolutely critical. So when you're recruiting, you've got to vet these folks. You've got to find that core team that no matter what, hell or high water, they're sticking by you and they're going to deliver. And they're going to tell you when they're facing challenges. They're not going to hide it because you can't be everywhere all the time. You're exactly right. You have to be an effective communicating team that can be highly transparent, and they're all seeking to win together. And part of that starts at the core, your culture of your company and what you're building. Just like you would build a team here where you have to create that environment where people can make mistakes but can be transparent and learn from them, you have to do that internationally as well. But you also have to set those standards of where you will not compromise. Ethically, anything along those lines, there is no tolerance for that. And so you just have to set those guidelines and manage that accordingly and give people the opportunity to be empowered, but also within your own business guidelines and rules and policies.
Blanca, so I'm going to name a challenge for you because you asked the room.
Uh-oh, here we
Who
go.
knows? I mean, about hydrogen? Oh, no, one. It was like, yes,
I too.
right? So maybe two. So that can't be a challenge that you name, right? How do you overcome challenges like that to increase and enhance and support your businesses and your business engagement? But also, what are other challenges and opportunities that you see in the work that you do?
Okay, first, I believe in education. I think Amelia put it great. You have to be focused. You have to be, what was the word you used? Intentional. Exactly. Intentional. So education is great. Yeah, when you go to a new country, you need to learn everything about it. History, politics, what's going on, how's their distribution channel, culturally, try to understand a little bit more, get good advice as of like, okay, how do I present? Because I cannot tell you how much little things change. So how do you make it happen is, again, learn about it. That education is very important. Now, participation is the next thing I'm going to say. I am a very proud member of the Kentucky District Expo Council. I've cooperated with the Kentucky World Trade Center on many occasions. I was very honored to be able to serve when Governor Martha Lane Collins was the president of the Kentucky World Trade Center, with Ginger and Rogers as executive director, and now with Omar. It's great. Mona knows that the Department of Commerce, have always been very close to them, but I decided that electric manufactures industrial products, and I was trying to figure out how in the world am I gonna get through this challenge, which is green steel. So if you are in the manufacturing environment or you do anything with steel, the green steel is going to affect you. So you might want to check it out. So, okay, this is trade. So I'm thinking, I always believed that trade is, history gives you all of this wonderful examples that trade is what leads the history. That's what wars are happen for, and then and that's horrible. However, trade leads. It's all that push that we want those other things, and we want to bring them here, and we want to exchange those products and services. But then comes policy. And now my company is being affected by policy. So I was like, how do I affect policy as a private company? So I started asking, and I realized that I could go through the Kentucky District Expo Council and start asking questions and maybe say, okay, how do I better lobby in Washington for the trade regulations? And now I'm trying to be part of an ITAC, which is an industrial trade advisory board, council, that actually goes and tells our legislators, hey, this measure that you are doing is affecting me. This tariff is affecting me. Or you should be looking into maybe creating a tariff to stop this, right? And give them numbers and supporting information. And that's involvement. So education and involvement. Those are the two things. And those are both opportunities and challenges. So that's what I would say.
Okay, well, I thought you were getting real close to stealing my next question.
I'm good at that.
Several other things to talk about. So, but you didn't. You came real close. But it's a nice transition. So we're gonna. We've only got a few minutes left, so I want to do this in like tweet version, rapid fire down the road. So, given what you just said about education, learning, it's a continuous process, and engagement. We're gonna get to all those parts in the next 4 questions as one at a time, as quickly as we can answer. Blanca, I'm going to start with you. Ready? Okay. In a tweet, and I have no social media, so I don't even know what that means. In a tweet. Social media. Yeah. Whatever. I don't know. All right. You're a failure that happened for you while doing international business that you can laugh about now.
Oof. Yeah. That's South Korean culture with end user, South Korean middle person with a Saudi Arabian end user. It was an utter disaster.
That's great.
All right. Agreeing to take a shot from an unknown bottle in a room full of men in Africa that came out. They showed me afterward with a giant snake in it. I got through it.
There you go.
It's in alcohol, but I got through it. By God, I was a female and I was not backing down. So we did it.
So in sweet form.
Big Ass Fans released a marketing campaign that was Fanny Around the World. Oh, let that settle in. If you don't get it, Google it later.
Look it up. Look it up. After living in the US for about 15 years, I went back to Jordan. My knee hurt after a long day of travel. I was in a mall and I sat with my feet up.
Oh, they were.
I had security in the mall approach me, asked me to put my feet down because I was offending the person across the room. I said, let them look the other way. No, I did put my feet down.
Right, Mike, coming back this way in tweet form, in X form. I did
X form,
yes. In X form. A failure you learned the most from.
Professional failure.
Yeah.
Don't ever think you are a shoo-in for a particular job. Apply for a job as if they know nothing about you. Be prepared to present your best version of yourself.
Don't be sole sourced, specifically when a pandemic hits. Oh, sorry.
Don't hire a company to do business in a country just because you do business in that country, because you will get let down badly and it will not go well for your business.
I'm sticking with the South Korean and the Saudi Arabian. Yeah.
You keep that one. All right. Just starting with you, going back the other way. You mentioned education as a strong part, right? This is housed by the College of Business with industry leaders in the room. In X form, why should they continue to engage in partnerships with students? How do you think programs like this really contribute to the future of innovation in our next set of years? All that, and you only get to
Export is a revenue that we need as a country. Stay engaged.
If the U.S. wants to continue to lead in innovation minds, to be that in the world, we need the real international focus. We need people who appreciate that ideas come from everywhere and that you can bring those back here and ground them and use them. So that exposure, that travel, that getting out there, it grows the mind like nothing else.
Increase the awareness of the benefits of global trade. We just don't talk about it often enough. And there's so many people out there that don't realize the opportunity that exists. So give the opportunity, make them aware of the opportunity, see the potential in someone, and just challenge them to go after it and see where you get.
Virtual meetings are fine, but there is no substitute to meeting the people where they live and where they work in person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, ladies, my final two questions. This is your mic drop moment. Okay. No rush. How can people in this room continue to empower women in particular, women to grow in global trade, women to grow as global leaders, women to grow in the professional space? And I'll start with you.
You got this. Don't be afraid of adversity and challenges. Everyone faces them. And help each other. I think women, we can be very competitive and we can somewhat hurt each other in ways that we don't intend, just in the name of competition or wanting to steal the limelight from someone else. But if we all lift each other, and I know it sounds very cliche, but try to help out. I mean, I'm not going to lose anything by coaching you on interview skills or how to write a resume or referring you to someone else. You know, if I'm secure in my job, I have no problem, sharing the wealth. So share the wealth, be kind to one another, and, don't be so judgy.
So similar to what you said, once again, what is it? The ships rise? What is it? What is the
Rising tide lifts all ships.
Lifts all ships. Thank you.
You're welcome.
See, work together, hand together.
That's a freight thing.
Out there.
Ocean freight.
But just realize that you have so much to give. Work together. Put yourself out there. Support each other. We should all want each other to win. So let's do it. It's a better place if we all do.
When I was first starting in business and starting a family, I was convinced that I wasn't going to be able to do it all. And I had a lovely executive coach who said, you just need to find other women who are doing what you're doing. And so it's a way of lifting each other up, but go out and intentionally seek other women at all levels who are doing this so that you see that example. You can't be it if you don't see it. So go out and find it because we're here. And, there are lots of women who are trying to do this. You may not come across them in your everyday life. So you may have to go out and seek it, LinkedIn, coaching, counsels, whatever it is, but they're there. And then you believe that you can do it and that you can get it done. And it's a fantastic ride.
I believe in every single word these wonderful women have said. So I support that. I'm going to give you something from 2 books that I read on the matter. And one is a compendium of all the labor market and what the women as a genre has gone through. And this woman won the Nobel Prize last year for this work. And her name is Claudia Golden. The second person I'm going to talk to you about is Indra Nooyi. She was PepsiCo CEO for 12 years. She worked there 24. And during her tenure, PepsiCo went from $2.7 billion to almost $6.5 billion in profit. So imagine all the work that she did. And tenures, normal average the media of tenure of CEOs is about 7 years. She stayed there for 12. That's how good she was. Both of those women agree that the social structure in our country is not favorable to women, for women to work. So, and what does that imply? For the 40% men in this, because I did count, and in this audience, that means that for the young ones, go to that school meeting instead of sending your wife. Go to the doctor. And for those that can make decisions from a labor perspective, from rules, from policies, allow for paternity leave. That's just a basic structural change that we need to make in this country to allow women to go better. So I believe in all this moral support that we discuss. And yes, women, we need to stay together and help each other, but we need the structural changes. We need those changes to affect change. And never forget, really, that those positive actions, that is not like the plus sign, is actually making it happen. Yes, you need a certain percentage of women and try to make it a half on the positions in your company. Try that. Positive action is very important.
that was a mic drop. So my last question was, what's the call to action? And I think she did it very well. So I do want to thank Omar for being in line with that and giving us women a space where our voice is respected and to allow us to share our stories tonight. Thank you, panelists. I'm so very grateful for you trusting me in facilitating this process. Thank you, Dean Cheater, for always allowing me to be in this college, for always being a fantastic supporter of me and my work, whether I'm here or I'm not here. Thank you for all you do for me. Dr. Pelosa, thank you for continuing to being a friend and engaging in all of my ideas and options. I'm truly grateful for you as well as an ally and someone who truly supports women across the board in our professional careers. And with that, I will turn it over to you for closing remarks.
I didn't mean to steal the show at the end. I just wanted to make sure we officially provided you with the Gatton Global Week. Thank you. Thank you for being here. This is an exciting part of what we're trying to do here. Gatton Global Week, which is the first ever time we've done it. And I got to say, I actually said earlier, it didn't quite surpass our wildest dreams, but it just has. So thank you for being here. Thank you for coming. Partnerships are what we do at College of Business. So I know there's a lot of folks here in the corporate community and the business community around Lexington. We love to partner with you. Thousands of student hours of contact with just these kind of messages over the last 2 days and the like 2 days. So please join us again for next Global Week. If you're interested in being a speaker, please reach out to us. Thank you very much for coming. Sorry, Omar, I don't mean to steal your thunder. This is a World Trade Center lesson. Thank you very much. And, Lati?
Thank you all.